Reza, welcome. Thank you so much for coming today. That's an absolute pleasure. From the first time we ever met to the today, it's only been about a pleasure to know you as a human being. And I just want to thank you for coming today to share your story with so many others out there like yourself that are super accomplished, super intellectual, intelligent, and direct and really successful in so many other aspects of life, but need that surety to be able to uncover certain aspects of their health, of which they may feel as though it's so far and untouchable, unreachable. And I'm hoping through your story, me retract that unknowing through your story, that the lives that are going to be able to hear this are going to be having or will be empowered through the encouragement of your story to veer into new terrain, to be able to truly exhibit all that they can be and all that they are meant to experience in being their own victors over poor health. So thank you for coming on board. And just to start off, Reza, would you mind just to give the audience just a little bit about a background about who you are and where you come from and what actually brought you to the point where we actually first had our conversation?
Many thanks, Justin, for this opportunity, because I think that sharing the story and putting, words on the story is part of the journey. So yeah, my first name is Reza. I live in France. I'm working in a large communication and advertising group where I have a senior position as a global in a global position, in a global role. You can imagine this is busy, and I've been always struggling with health related issues that were a direct consequence of massive overweight. I've been with you guys now almost for 9 months or 8 months maybe, and on a journey which is both exciting and full of discoveries. So as usual, the starting point for me was a good friend, a good advice, and somebody who told me one day, hey Reza, you're making some efforts on your side, but what if you got some help, advice, coaching, mentoring, and would you consider talking with my friend Justin? And I said, first time I said, yeah, why not? Second time I said, yeah, maybe, tell me more about it. And this good friend continued working his way of helping me. And then we had a call together. And you explained me the approach, which was exactly that journey I was looking for, that there was more than a journey. There was a program. There was, some milestones. There were some scientific elements. I'm a quite analytical person, so I need to, see that there is a framework. It's not all about, good wishes. And I was very convinced by the approach of having, both a conversation and a journey, and both having a disciplined program with a lot of knowledge on your side and your team and a lot of support. So that's how everything started.
So to start off with the journey itself, what were the pressures that you were holding on to and afraid to let go of?
So when it comes to pressure, my way of describing pressure was rather fear or lack of trust in what I could do. So as any, overweight person, I tried, a lot of diets in my life. And while I was always successful initially in losing, kilos, sometimes tens of kilos, the biggest pressure was about putting those back and not understanding, the reason why or the way I was doing it, etc. So the biggest pressure was, not trusting myself, or fearing that I was on a path of another failure, which is never exciting, because losing weight is already, quite a challenge by itself. But knowing that it's not going to be successful long term, it's adding, a whole pressure. So understanding that there is a methodology, that there are reason whys, that there is a science behind this, that you can accelerate, that it's not only discovering, along the program, that it's not only about the weight problem, that the weight problem is actually a consequence of, bad habits, poor lifestyle, not healthy behaviors, and also some parts that we do not control fully, that we need, external, either, nutriments or, activity in order to correct those. That was a big reveal. So pressure, not trusting myself on, being able to successfully manage a transition, a transformation, was the biggest pressure.
Amazing. Just with what you said, I want to touch on two words that you used. The first word being of diet. Do you still refer to the way in which you eat as a diet, or do you now refer to it as a nutritional plan?
That's really spot on. When my friends ask me, if I'm on a diet, I say no. Or I say yes, just to make it easy for them to grasp what I'm going through. And, when they're asking me if I want, another glass of wine or something, and for me, it's easier to tell them, hey guys, I'm on a diet, so I'm going to skip it. But actually, that one glass is way enough now. I enjoy it more, and I'm happy to have it, once in a while. But I'm not on a diet anymore. I'm just, doing what is making me happy, and the nutritions that are making me, able to do everything that I've been able to discover since, I joined that journey. So that's really a great question. No, I'm not in a diet, and even, losing weight by itself is no longer an objective. It's going to be, if it's a consequence, it's fantastic, but it's not an objective.
And that brings me to the second word, losing. Now, I know we've spoken so much over the last few months, and every Friday we have our catch-up calls. And I think what's come up more often in our last few conversations is the gain of health, the gain of fitness. And your focus has gone off of the losing of weight, which, the subtleties of words are so powerful. And how sometimes we can get lost in the things we say, and we don't understand why we struggle so much with what we're trying to do, especially when it comes to weight loss. It's a loss of something. But I know for a fact, through having conversation with you, it's become a matter of gaining rather than losing.
Definitely gaining, and I use the word discovering because I'm discovering. So it's even more than gaining. I'm opening new fields. I'm opening, new fields of energy, of mental performance, of being able to walk for hours or exercise.
Would you consider yourself being a physiological archaeologist?
Yes, exactly. A metabolic, yeah. I'm discovering unknown territories about myself, and totally unknown territories about myself. Stuff that I didn't even think about. making performance in a, trying to improve my game in various sports, I wouldn't even think about this. Spending time practicing, spending time, improving any kind of sports was not in my ring of play. It was not in my portfolio of possibilities. Reading books, no worries. Writing, point of views, no worries. Having conversations, giving speeches, conferences, etc., all easy. But these were things that and I'm still discovering, there are joys which are tiny joys, like, one very simple thing, you see a piece of clothing that you like, you can have it. You don't need to have it tailor-made. It's available in your size, and these are very simple joys, being able to walk 18 holes of a golf course with your friends and not being exhausted after hole number 3. That's a new discovery. And from big joys, of being healthier, to smaller things like, that shirt that you find nice, that's just, like new things opening.
That's amazing. And it's a wonderful life when we get to explore new opportunities. And we've actually had the opportunity in every day to create a new exploration or new opportunities of exploration, as long as we open up our minds and our bodies to it. And I think that's what's so amazing about your story, is that, like you said, you've always been an intellectual. You've always been able to read books and understand concepts. But now you've gone from the library of life and you've actually gone out into the field of becoming, like you just said, a metabolic archaeologist, getting out there and doing the things that you read, not just reading them, but actually living them and experiencing them for all that they are. I want to bring to the next point, and I think this also ties into what we just spoke about. What was the breaking point that brought you to autonomic coaching?
I think there were multiple elements, that started to add and pile up. One that was, probably for me quite important was a visual moment where we had, a gathering at friend's place, and this was, a year ago, probably before all the COVID mess. And those friends, shared some pictures after the party. And I visualized a guy that was sitting on a chair. That was me. But that was not the picture I had of myself. That was way too big. That was not respectful of himself. And this was a visual moment that was really, a revelation of saying, I don't want to be this guy. I don't want to be this guy. And he looked tired. He looked way too big. And I think it was, a bit enough of having this and having all those limitations and elements about yourself where you think that's not the right word. You are successful in some areas of life, and you need to realize this. And I'm very grateful for this. But then that you're missing, a whole bunch of other things, what I call my discoveries. And so that was the first point. The second point, is that friends' conversations, he acknowledged that I was making some efforts, but that were probably, either in the wrong direction or too much efforts, not focused in the right place, etc. And then understanding that there are people to help, and that you need to make that movement to raise your hand and say, okay, guys, everything, as you say, Justin, about the intellectual work, these are things I master. But those other doors that are closed require a door opener. And somebody can open the door, guide you through it, and explain, all those discoveries that can happen afterwards. And so these were my moments. And what really made the difference, it was about, that mix of friendly, healthy conversations, that knowledge that autonomic coaching brings, which helps you understand the reason whys. And I need reason whys. I need to understand. I can't only follow. So teaching, understanding, explaining, sometimes once, twice, three times, etc., was really for me a decisive element.
Amazing. I think there's so much truth to what you just said right there about going along on a path thinking that we are doing what's right. And when we don't have others around us, friends, loved ones, even as you and I have now become friends over the period of time, we started off as coaching clients, but as all my clients eventually become part of the greater family behind autonomic coaching. And as a family member, it's our responsibility to keep each other sharp. Iron sharpens iron. It's one of my favorite sayings to say, and it really allows us to be aligned. And one of the phrases from Alan Watts, he says, "You leave a fool to his folly for long enough and he'll become a master." And unfortunately, this is the truth for so many of us, is that when we allow ourselves to be disillusioned in a comfort zone and not to be challenged in a positive way, not in a way through criticism, because I feel that criticism serves no purpose unless there's a solution behind what is being suggested needs to change. And I feel that this is where you've grown to have your iron sharpened, because not only have we been able to give you some knowledge and understanding of parts of which you'll be able to improve yourself, but you have also been able to give us that same response. And this is why communication is vitally important. It's why you are an individual. And being an individual, we figured out along our journey what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and what can be altered to improve your overall experience. So I want to bring us to the next question with that. And I think it's a very important question for so many people, just exactly to what I said there about leave a fool to his folly for long enough and you become a master. And I think you decided that you did not want to go along the foolish pathway of your own ideas, but rather wanted to embrace a community that had a diversity of ideas to create more fulfillment with you in your life as a person. When did you realize you could overcome your limitations?
So the beautiful thing about the journey I'm experiencing with you guys is building on trust. And trust, I'm talking trust about myself. Mm-hmm. And understanding that I can have successes in ways I could not imagine in parts of life which were previously closed to me. I couldn't access those. And basically building trust for myself is my way of overcoming the limitations. So maybe I won't achieve this, but now I trust myself of having enough focus, energy, and the wish for trying it. So and that's for me the biggest step. Few weeks ago, you mentioned, and I still take this as a joke, of running a half marathon. but listen, I'm still laughing about it, but I trust that I can probably try it. And maybe I will not succeed, and that's okay. But I trust myself that, Why not embark on that journey? And let's see. While a couple of months ago, my brain would have taken that small, idea in that concept and just, put it away, and it's gone, and it doesn't matter. But now, it's again another dimension, another discovery. Let's play with the idea. Let's get on a program. Let's try, to start running 20 minutes, and then 30, and then 40, and then let's add on it. And we'll see if we get to that half marathon, or if we get to 10 miles, which is already amazing, or 5, or whatever. So yeah, limitations are, for me, they are beaten by trust, and that's new as well.
I think what you've just expressed right there is you have rid yourself of fear. And I think that is so powerful, because all of us have so much fear and the expectation to either succeed or fail. And often it paralyzes us to even start or to even try. But it's not in the success or the failure, it's actually in the presence of the moment, of the participation in doing something, where life is actually experienced. And I feel like that's where you are now, is that you're experiencing life in so many different ways. That's just absolutely a blessing to be able to witness as your coach, as your confidant, as a person in your corner. You're the Tyson, and we're definitely not your Don King. We're the guy before Tyson. Tyson's actual real first. I don't remember his name now for the life of me. But that's where we see you as. That now you don't have fear. Whether you succeed or you fail, that's irrelevant. What is relevant is the fact that you have the courage to go for it. Well, that's a big one for my heart, to know that you're feeling that.
It's a big one. It's a big one. And we talk about sports, etc., but that fear is in daily life. Is my wife, because she has now embarked on a different program. She's a force of nature, and so she's the active one. She's the energy, the body, the strength, etc. And there are tons of activities that I could not help her with, and just fearing not to be on the useful. Now let's do it. You need to break that wall. I'm gonna help. You need to move all those stones. Yeah. And so it's really, really a big transformation. She jokes often by, when people are amazed by seeing me after a couple of months, she's saying, I'm introducing you to my new husband. And
she's having an affair with you.
Yeah.
Very good. Very, very good. How did autonomic coaching support you in doing this, and overcoming limitations and overcoming the fears? How did autonomic coaching support you in getting to the point of where you are now in a state of courage? I think that pretty much sums that up very well.
Yeah, I think again there are multiple elements where autonomic coaching has brought to my transformation. I think the first one is everyone will benefit from it. It's the conversational tone and the way you guys build the relationship and enable trust to become part of the whole story. So being available, accepting any kind of question or rejections, and when a topic, or I don't receive well an ID or a specific, you know, detail in a program, etc., find an alternative because this point doesn't suit me. So that ongoing conversation of finding the right program for each person is, for me, the big wow, the thing I have not seen before. Because usually with coaching programs, etc., you need to follow a very specific pattern. And here, yes, there is an underlying, you know, very clear objective of where you guys want to take me and probably your other clients, your other friends, as you say. But this is part of
family members.
family members, exactly. But there are some alternatives, and the knowledge you bring opens those, you know, world of alternatives. So first one is the conversation. The second one is that point about knowledge. So I need to understand, I need a knowledge transfer. I need to understand why vitamin D, why that supplement, why that kind of exercise. I need to understand. So when I understand, I say, okay, that makes sense, let's do it. And as a joke, I told you, I still don't understand that red light. So I still don't own a red light. When I will probably understand it, I might make the move. So that knowledge element is really critical. And you guys have a wealth of knowledge that I do not have access with the best doctors in France, and I would say in Western Europe, where you go and see some guy here, he talks to you about why you cough and your throat. Or when you go and see a guy because you need new glasses, he talks only about your eyes. You guys are looking at the whole picture. And that's absolutely new in my whole interaction, life of interaction with doctors, coaches, etc. They look at silos, and that 360 knowledge you bring into the transformation and into building the programs, etc., is another wow. And the third one is probably, you know, another specific to me. I need a bit of discipline. I'm busy, you know, I didn't have time available for any other new stuff in my life, neither exercise or reading new books or talking, having weekly, daily calls with, you know, coaches, etc. So having the discipline of, you know, daily tracking, weekly monitoring, monthly calls, weekly calls, and, you know, this kind of discipline helps you through the whole process, because first of all, it helps you realize the progress, helps you visualize the successes, and it gives you a great rhythm. So for me, these were the three things: the conversation, the knowledge, the transformation part of the knowledge, and yes, a bit of discipline, which doesn't hurt at all.
I think from what you said, the conversation part and the knowledge, I will just have to return the compliment back to you. And the reason for that, if we hadn't had the conversations, which we keep on having, knowledge of what's actually going on within yourself wouldn't have be able to provide us with any insight to what type of solutions we can give you. And I think that's what a lot of physicians, medical practitioners, wellness practitioners, whatever label you want to give somebody that's a healer, sometimes lack, is the fact that we need to be present and understand there's no hierarchy in healing. You're bringing two energies together. They want the same common outcome of a goal, to get you to a higher vibrational frequency where you express and experience life in a pressure-free manner. And this is where your response, your insight for, and your honesty, and that's the very big important word. Discipline is a word that can be construed in two ways: in a militant way, or in a way that actually allows somebody to have the opportunity to learn the best ways to love themselves. And I feel as though the discipline that you've now incorporated in your life is not that of a militant fashion, but is rather that of a loving fashion, and making the choices that the best for you to be able to experience the most out of the life that you're living. So I want to thank you for the knowledge that you've given us through the conversation, open and honest conversation, for us to be of best service to you, because of you being of best service to us as well. The next one I want to ask you, what belief, this is a really cool question, and we were just talking a moment ago about your golf. I'm so amazed by, and you have to share what your new handicap is, because it's absolutely awesome. What belief do you now have in your potential?
That links again to my notion of trust. So that belief of being able to try new things, being able to open new doors, that's basically, taking away some barriers. And that belief of, actually, it's a starting point. Actually, it's just the beginning of new things. That's a very healthy belief. I love it. I love it because it's yeah. I'm not saying everything is possible, because we all have limitations, and I have, and I'm not. And it's okay, because we've got limitations, but we've got gifts as well. We are all gifted in some ways. So if you are gifted in some ways, I would say it's a natural balance to have some limitations, but to have less limitations and to have, more possibilities, that's a very comforting belief.
And I love the fact that you don't put any weight on the fact that we all do have limitations, but also in the acknowledgement that sometimes the limitations we believe that are present in our lives are actually not our truths. And you've broken away from the distinguishing difference between what truly is something that you can and you cannot do, by being fearless, by having the courage, by letting go of the fear, which you've done so well, to not have the expectation of performance, but you have the opportunity, once again, to live the most fullest life and the experience of life itself. How do you now address the pressure points in your life?
I've never been, a big victim of pressure. So that's my special gift. I manage pressure, stress, etc. quite well. And it's more an ally than something else. But still, having, new facets of myself, is a driver of even better performance. So if I wasn't subject to that much pressure, right now, I trust myself to be able to overcome challenges even more easily or with different angles. So I will need to work, 100 hours next week. Okay. I trust myself now that I will go through that specific challenge with more, possibilities, more strength, more courage, less fatigue, etc. So being healthier, trusting yourself a bit more, and way more, actually. Pressure, bring it on. No worries.
You are your own pressure valve. You let go of it. You don't have to hold it anymore. You receive the challenge. This is a big one, and I know your answer to this, and I can't wait to give a response to your answer. Do you finally acknowledge yourself to be a hero?
Yeah, that hero word, we talked about it. Um, so the biggest achievement is to really um, start realizing everything that is possible. And so when you discover those new doors, it's like discovering superpowers. I started so low in some areas that sometimes I feel that I have superpowers. You know, being able to do exercises I couldn't envisage, being able to, you know, do some activities that were out of my range, out of my, you know, life, is kind of superpowers. So when you talk about heroes, for me, in my, you know, cultural element, heroes go with superpowers. So maybe I've got some superpowers, which makes me a kind of a hero.
Well, Reza, you are a hero to us. The reason why you're a hero to us is because you've liberated yourself from the chains that wore you down unnecessarily. And like every other hero in life, it starts with it initially out of the shadow. I think most heroes are born from the shadows, the ones that are most recognized. Think of Batman. I'm thinking, I see you as Batman. Bruce, born out of the shadows and a figure of light, opportunity and hope and courage. And no matter what the end result, you keep on taking that cape and just slaying down the villains, and the villains being the doubt, right? The doubt that we put in our own minds. So to us here at Autonomic Coaching, from me, myself, from Marinus, from Fiona, from Sonia, from Dr. Khan, we just want you to know that we think that you are a hero.
Thank you, guys.
What advice would you give to those that are in doubt of being all they want to become?
The advice is really about realizing that even if we excel in some areas, and for me it was the mind thing, you know, reading, writing, thinking, being creative, we are acknowledging that we are missing some stuff. Big stuff is a big moment. And so the advice is, yes, we need to build our comfort zone, but once in a while, trying to get out of that comfort zone and go in those unknown territories, which could be different from one to the other, and making that, you know, that step is just about self-discovery and yeah, and building, you know, building trust on our about ourselves. So doubt is about questions, and finding the right people brings the answers. So I love doubts, you know, and I love people who have doubts, because it's the first sign of intelligence. But I think, you know, when you have doubts, you need to look for those answers, and that sometimes we need to raise our hands and say, I don't have all the answers, because these are unknown territories to me, and I need help and guidance or support. I mean, I love to say help because I needed help. And yeah, go for it. Raise your hands and embark on whatever journey that will help whatever individual. But yeah, move on it and act on it. And it's going to be, and having the right team behind you, like you guys, you mentioned, you know, Fiona, yourself, Marinu, Sonja, Dr. Khan, all those people that are here in really to help are, will make the transition, the transformation, and easier, and probably, you know, erase some of those doubts.
I think from what you said, in so many cultures, they revere the imagination of children, the wisdom of children, right? And from what you said right now, children always question when they get to that age, about 4, 5, 6, but why? But why? But why? But why? But yet, even through their questioning, they never have fear. They're always climbing those trees, even though they could break their arm and their legs, or God forbid anything else. They still go into the world fearless. And it's unfortunately through conditioning that we embrace ourselves that we become fearful. And I just love that, what you just put forward there with regards to doubt and how to break away from doubt, is to actually ask the questions, to be able to take that doubt, not ignore it, not to disregard it, but to take it as an opportunity to gain insight, to gain wisdom. First knowledge and then wisdom. And wisdom comes through experience of knowledge, in my opinion. So, next question I would love to ask you is, how do you believe autonomic coaching can be a catalyst to one's liberation of denial of disbelief in health and heart?
In all ways, Justin, in all ways. I mean, it comes again to that two things, which is worked for me. Worked for me was, the first thing is the way you do it. So the catalyst is an approach to the program, to coaching, to mentoring, to helping, to supporting, which is that conversational element, which is that flexibility to really make it work for each individual. And the second catalyst for me was the knowledge transfer and the wealth of knowledge available to build the individual program. So it's going to be different for another client of yours, but for me it was really the two elements that made a big difference.
And to wrap it up, last question, just to help the right type of people that might be listening to this, because as you said, not every experience is for everyone. And autonomic coaching is a very unique experience. It's helped a lot of people, but it isn't for everyone, but it's for a certain type of person. And I feel like you really exhibit the type of person that needs this message or needed this message. And from hearing the message and receiving it, you've liberated yourself from fear into a state of courage. So I want to ask you the question for those listening out there, to give them a bit of clarity of whether or not this is their program, or maybe it isn't their program. Who would you recommend autonomic coaching to, and who would it be of best service to as well?
I would actually try this with anybody who is open to transformation. So what I mean is that I was skeptical. I was, we talked about this, Justin, before, about, the whole notion of health being something pretentious, and, we are defined to die. I mean, sorry, that's a bit dramatic, but, why would you try to improve better performance, blah, blah, blah. But so even with a guy like me that was super skeptical, still having an open mind to learn and understand is the only point that matters. So anybody that is open to try a new approach should try it. If you believe that you have nothing to learn, if you believe that you know already everything, including about yourself, then probably if that human exists, he doesn't need you guys, or he cannot engage with you guys. But if you have the will to understand that you can progress, that you can improve, or even even if you don't like that word, if you can lose some of your bad habits, that this is feasible, then guys, go for it. Engage with autonomy coaching. Give it a test, give it a try. It's nothing harmful can happen out of this, only positives. And if you see that it's not for you, you disengage. But open mind, for me, is the only requirement. Nothing else is a barrier.
Well, you've definitely had a very open mind, and through your open mind, you've explored different facets and aspects of yourself that have just continually growing. Every week, we've broken past certain weights that you were holding on to, and that you now have been able to more readily liberate yourself of, which I'm very proud of you for doing as well. And I know you know what I'm talking about. We're gonna keep that obviously between us. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's a continual pleasure to work with you as well as with your wife. And thank you for taking the time just to share your story with us, Reza. And just from everybody here at Autonomic Coaching, we just want to say thank you for being our hero.
Thank you, Justin.
Take care now, Reza.
Ciao.